Shalom to all! Today's daf is Rosh Hashanah Daf Yod. We are starting Tes Amud Beis, 4 lines up from the bottom at the 2 dots. And today's daf is sponsored Leilu Nishmas, Mars Miriam Sarah Basar Yaakov Maisha, her Nisham should have an aliyah, and Leilu Nishmas, Mars Rivka Basar Meir Zev, her Nisham should have an aliyah. Now we're going to be discussing Arla and Tosefes Shvias. And the Gemara tells us, Tanur Banu, we have a brayso. Echan Aniteo, whether someone who plants a tree, Echan Mavrich, or if he bends a vine is bent into the ground with the end sticking out, and then when it takes root on its own, it's then severed from the original vine. And Echan Markiv, someone who grafts, meaning he takes a branch from one tree and inserts it into a hole made in another. So if he does this Erev Shvias, Erev Shemitah year, Shlashim Yom B'fnei Rosh Hashanah, or 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, regular year, also Lashana, this is counted as a year of Arla, Umoto L'Kayim B'Shvias, and he's allowed to keep this on Shemitah. He was already Mekayim Tosefes Shvias if he did this 30 days before Shemitah. But Pachas Mishlashim Yom B'fnei Rosh Hashanah, if he did this less than 30 days to Rosh Hashanah, Loy also Lashana, first of all, it's not considered a year for Arla, and V'asr L'Kayim B'Shvias, he's not allowed to keep it on Shemitah, because we said you have to be Maseh Mechal Kaidesh. This is only going to fully take root on Shemitah itself, and therefore it has to be uprooted. Yudam and Alpha on the top, however, repairs Netiyazu, the fruit from this planting, Asur, and there's actually Asur on Tesva B'Shvat until the 15th of Shvat. Imla Arla, Vimla Revai. If we're talking about Arla, then there's still Arla, and if we're talking about Neter Revai, meaning the 4th year's fruits, then they're still considered Neter Revai. What does that mean? Even though we just said that if it was planted 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, then come Rosh Hashanah, it's already the beginning of the 2nd year, so that means that technically any fruit that grows after the 3rd Rosh Hashanah shouldn't be Arla anymore, and any fruit that grows after the 4th Rosh Hashanah shouldn't be Neter Revai anymore. But that's not so, says this brayso. The fruit that grows after the 3rd Rosh Hashanah is still considered Arla, even though it's technically the 4th year, and if it grows after the 4th Rosh Hashanah, it's still considered Neter Revai. Only fruit that grows after Tu B'Shvat is not Arla. Why is that? Since the first year this tree was a short one, it was only 30 days, so Chacham extended the Isser until Tu B'Shvat. And now the Gemara asks Madan immediately, how do we know that? So Amar Chia Bar Abba, Rabbi Yechanan, and Umatu Ba, some are inclined to say that he said in Mishmeid Rabbi Yanai, Amar Kar, the Pasuk says, Hashanah Revius in the 4th year, and that comes right after the Pasuk tells us that the first 3 years the fruit is Arla, and then the Pasuk also says Hashanah Chamishas, and that comes right after the Pasuk tells us that the 4th year is Neter Revai. And what do we learn from here? Pa'am Sheb Revius, sometimes it's the 4th year, V'adayin Asur Mishum Arla, but it's still going to be Asur because of Arla. And Pa'am Sheb Chamishas, sometimes it's already going to be the 5th year, V'adayin Asur Mishum Revai, and it's still going to be Asur because of Neter Revai. And now the Gemara suggests Leimet like Rav Meir. Let's say that our Bryce is not Rav Meir. Our Bryce had said you have to plant a tree at least 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, and only then it's considered a year. That's not like Rav Meir. The Rav Meir, if it was him, Ha'amar, he says, Yom Echad B'Shana Chashav Shana. 1 day of the year is considered a year, not 30 days. Titan, you have a Bryce. Par Ha'amar B'Tayra Stam. Anytime the Torah says that you have to bring a para as a carbon, we know it has to be 3 years old. And Ben Esim V'Arba Chaydish B'Yom Echad Div Rav Meir. Rav Meir says it only has to be 24 months old and 1 day. Once we have that 1 day after the 2nd year, that's already considered like a 3rd year. Rabbi Lazar, he says Ben Esim V'Arba Chaydish V'Lamad Yom. It has to be 24 months old and 30 days. Shahayi Rav Meir Aimer. Rav Meir says Kol Malkim Shenemar Egel L'Tayra Stam. Anytime the Torah says you have to bring an Egel as a carbon, Ben Shana, that means it's a year old. Ben Bakar, if you have to bring a Ben Bakar, so Ben Shnaim, that means it's 2 years old. And Par is Ben Shalish, it's got to be 3 years old. So we see that Rav Meir holds that even 1 day into a year is considered a whole year. So our Bryce is not Rav Meir. The Gemara says no. Afilu Tim Rav Meir, Bryce could be Rav Meir. Kikam Rav Meir Yom Echad B'Shana Chashav Shana. When does Rav Meir say that 1 day of the year is considered a whole year? That's B'Saif Shana. That's at the end of the year. When you're at the end of your count of years, like we just said for a par, so then we're going to count 1 day as a year. Aval B'Tchilas Shana. But when we're at the beginning of our count of years, like over here when we planted a tree, loy, so then he's not going to say that's considered a whole year. But now Amar Rava, he asks, Vlav Kal V'Chaimer, who isn't a Kal V'Chaimer? Uma Nida, just like a woman who's a Nida, she saw blood, She'ain Tchilas Hayayim Ayla La B'Saifa, that the beginning of the day doesn't count at the end of her 7-day count. Saif Hayayim Ayla La B'Tchilasa. However, the end of a day does count at the beginning of her count. And now what does that mean? A woman that sees blood is a Nida for 7 days, and then she's allowed to immerse in the mikvah, but only at the end of the 7th day. We do not allow her to immerse at the beginning of the day. However, when she sees blood at the beginning of the 7 days, even if she saw right before nightfall, that's already considered 1 day of her count. So Shana, when we're counting years for something, Sheyayim Echad Ayla B'Saifa, the 1 day will count at the end of our entire calculation, like we just said for Rav Meir. You know, on based on top, Einudin Sheyayim Echad Ayla B'Tchilasa, wouldn't we say that 1 day would count even at the beginning, and that should be counted as a year as well? So it must be that really Rav Meir would only require the tree to be planted 1 day before Rosh Hashanah and not 30 days, making our Brisa not like Rav Meir. So the Gemara asks, Elamai Rabbi Lazar, what do you want to say, that our Brisa is Rabbi Lazar? That can't be either, because Shlashim Shlashim by he would require it to be planted 60 days before Rosh Hashanah, meaning 2 sets of 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, not just 1 set of 30 days like the Brisa says. Then now we have a Mishnah. Ein Noitin ve'ein Mavrichin ve'ein Markivin. You're not allowed to plant or bend or graft Erev Shvias, Erev Shemitah, Pachas Milah Medem B'fnei Rosh Hashanah, less than 30 days before Rosh Hashanah. Ve'im Nata v'hevich v'hirkiv. If you did so, Yakar, you have to uproot it. Now Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, he says in his Brisa, Kol Har Kavash She'ena Koletes Begimel Yamim Shuv Ena Koletes. If it doesn't take root in 3 days, so then it's not going to take root anymore. Meaning it only takes 3 days for it to take root and not 30 days. Rabbi Yisrael, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi say Shtei Shabbosos, it actually is 2 weeks for it to take root. And Amar of Nachman, Amar Rabbi Ravua, he commented on this brayso, L'divrei ha'Amar lamed, according to the man Amar, that it has to be planted 30 days before Rosh Hashanah because that's how long it takes to take root. Tzarich lamed u'shleishim. You have to plant it 30 days and then another 30 days beforehand. Why is that? 30 for it to take root and then another 30 for it to be counted as Tosefes Shvias. L'divrei ha'Amar shleisha, according to the man Amar, it only has 3 days to take root. So tzarich shleisha u'shleishim. You have to plant it 33 days before because 3 days for it to take root and 30 days for Tosefes Shvias. And l'divrei ha'Amar beis Shabbosos, according to the man Amar, that it takes 2 weeks for it to take root. Then tzarich shtei Shabbosos u'shleishim yom. Again, you need 2 weeks and then another 30 days. So this proves that our brisa can't be Rebbe Elazar either because he would require it to be planted 60 days before Rosh Hashanah and not 30 like our brisa said. And the inami Rabbi Yehuda Svirla, and if you want to say that our brisa is like Rabbi Yehuda, he's the most makel. He says it only takes 3 days for it to take root. Gimel shleishim bay. It would still need to be planted 33 days before Rosh Hashanah and not just 30 as our brisa said. So the Gemara says you're right. El Elam Rav Meir. Really, the madam of our brisa is Rav Meir. V'chika Amar Lamed. Why is it that he says it has to be planted 30 days beforehand? L'klita. That's because it takes 30 days to take root. You're right. 1 day of a year is considered a whole year. However, even according to Rav Meir, it still takes 30 days for it to take root. As the Gemara, if so, Lamed Aleph Bay, it should be planted 31 days before Rosh Hashanah, not 30 days before Rosh Hashanah. 1 day to be considered a year, and 30 days for it to take root. Gemara says no. Kasabar Yom Lamed Oil Lakan Lakan. He holds that 30th day it counts for this and for that. That 30th day is counted as the completion of it taking root, and it also counts as the 1 day of the year. So therefore, it only needs to be planted 30 days before Rosh Hashanah and not 31, and therefore our brisa would be Rav Meir. And Amar Yechon, he says, Ushnei Mekar Echadarshu, both of them, meaning Rav Meir and Rabbi Elazar, they both dash in the same pasuk. Is 1 day of a year considered a year, or do we need 30 days out of a year to be considered a year? The pasuk tells us about Noach leaving the Teva. Vahiba Achas v'Sheish Me'ez Shana, it was 601 years, Barishan in the first month, Be'echel Chodesh on the first of the month, and that's when he left the Teva. Rav Meir Savar, he holds, Midakati Yom Echad Hu Da'ayel B'Shana, it was only the first day of the year, because it says it was the first month and the first day of the month. V'Kakari La Shana, and still it calls it a year. Shma Mino Yom Echad B'Shana Chashav Shana. We see that 1 day of a year is considered a year. The pasuk says, "Vahiba achas v'sheish me'as shana." It was 601 years, and even though we're talking about the first day of the year, nonetheless we still call it 601 years. So it must be that 1 day of a year is considered a year. V'idach, what would Rabbi Elazar respond to that? Iksev v'sheish me'as v'achas shana kidika amrit. You're right. If the pasuk would have written that it was 601 years, it would be exactly like you said. But hashidachsev ba'achas v'sheish me'as shana. Now that the pasuk says it was 1 and 600 years, so really shana ashesh me'as kai. The word shana is going on the word 600, meaning it was really only 600 years. So my achas, what's that word achas doing over there in the beginning of the pasuk? If it doesn't mean that it's 601 years, aschalta the achas kamar, it's just saying it's the beginning of the 601st year. Now the Gemara asks Rabbi Elazar, my time, what's Rabbi Elazar's spar that 30 days of a year is considered a year? So we answered the chsiv. It says in the pasuk berishan be'echad l'chodesh, on the first month, on the first of the month. Medakati yom echad hu da'ayel b'chodesh. It's still only 1 day into the month. V'kakari le'chodesh, it still is calling it a month because it says berishan be'echad l'chodesh. It says the first of the month, implying that a whole month has gone by. Shmamino yom echad b'chodesh chashav chodesh. We learn from there that even 1 day into a month is considered a month, and yom echad b'chodesh chashav chodesh, since 1 day of a month is considered a whole month, that must be that lamed yom b'shana chashuvim shana, that 30 days of a year is considered a whole year. Why is that? Because v'chodesh lemnuyav, the increments with which the month is counted in. So if we have one of those, that's considered a whole month, and we know that a month is counted in day increments. So therefore, if we have one of those, that's considered a whole month. And also v'shana lemnuyeha, the increments that a year is counted with. If we have one of those, that's considered a whole year. We count a year by increments of a month. So therefore, if we have 1 month, if we have 30 days, that's considered a whole year. We're going to stop here for the day. Pick up tomorrow with a whole discussion about when the world was actually created. For now, everyone should have a wonderful day.